Hey, welcome back everyone. Welcome back to my humble channel, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys. A lot's been going on since I last spoke to you. I mean, a lot. There's plenty of channels out there discussing each event in detail. I'm just gonna kind of skim over. I guess the way I've been working is if something stands out, I'll write it down and I'll mention it, and it's worth a further look, in my opinion, for everyone who would care to have a bit of a deeper dive into the subject matter. We'll start with the blood moon that just happened. I mean, it was over my house, and started on the actual date line of the world. A lot of interesting bits and pieces for wherever you saw it from the earth, as to deeper meanings. I'm going to point out something that I saw as it was above my house, the blood moon. I watched the thing disappear and turn red, as it does during those eclipses, lunar eclipses. I noticed it was in Scorpio's head, and I couldn't help think, something came to mind. I was watching that going, oh, it's in Scorpio's head, and it was a blood moon, and I couldn't help but think of it like a wound in Scorpio's head, like it was being crushed, slowly to us, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it happened in Scorpio's head, directly above my house. Like, I'm talking at the 12 o'clock position. And I was on my backyard chair, and I had my good camera out, and I was doing my very best to film it, and it looked like it had a face in it. It was just, people will think I was crazy if I said something, but I'm going to say this. I've looked at the moon. I've stared at it during a full moon before, and it's almost like it starts playing tricks on your eyes. Try it next time. Just stare at the moon when it's full, and it's like you'll start seeing things in the moon. Try it out and you'll see what I mean. It sounds crazy otherwise if you don't try it. It sounds like, oh, you've gone mad. Anyway, so that's something that was very significant since I last spoke to you all. Everyone was expecting a rapture on May 28th, and the blood moon was going to mark it. I've always thought of when it happens in the second heaven, it's a sign before it happens. It doesn't happen on the day. It's like that one in 2017 with Virgo and Jupiter, and nothing happened on the day. I mean, significant things were going on and happening, and just wow moments, but it was like a pre-warning, if you like. So let's wait and see what the blood moon in Scorpio's head happen. See what happens. Yeah. I watched a video from a guy named Eltian Childs. Now I want you to look into this. It's a over 5 hour long video he made, just sitting in his lounge room. But this guy was in he was going to become a big celebrity in Australia, and he's a hardcore Christian, and he was offered to sort of sign up to all the the secret stuff that goes on, and he turned it down. And I've always known a lot of the stuff he talked about in this video about what's going on in the world. I sort of knew it all, what he was talking about. He went into it so deep in this 5 hour video, it just leaves you convinced that they are up to something. It just leaves you absolutely 110% sure they are fulfilling a plan. So, great video. Eltian Child. He was going to be an Australian X Factor winner. It was about 10 years ago. But you think, oh, he was only doing this to make himself more famous, this video. But it's like, no, he's just in his lounge room and he's very sincere, and he had nothing really to gain from it. He had nothing to gain from it in this like current socio-economic political climate. Nothing at all to gain from it. Everything to lose. To lose is to gain.
Jet planes in the night sky with you, getting high in the sunrise with you, getting through all the bad times with
Okay,
you.
I had been looked after by the Lord, sustained, and I'm cleaning up my house in the morning, and it's a sunny morning, the sun's coming through the window, and I'm tidying up, and I'm, it's nearly like I'm whistling a tune. I'm all happy and zippity doo-dah kind of thing, and all of a sudden, an old lady is in the window, looking with this look on her face of such worry and such like despair, like and she just appeared in my front yard, and you have to come right down my driveway and right onto my front lawn to be able to get to the window that she was at. And then she started saying, "Oh, quick, quick," and I'm like, "Oh no, what's going on?" So she's gone, "It's my husband. It's my husband. He's on his couch, and he's having chest pains." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm very concerned now." I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right." Lead the way, and it was a neighbour. I'd never actually gone into their house. They're only 2 doors down. 2 doors, and I've gone in there, and he's sitting on the couch, and he's an old Englishman, an old British man, and so was she. She's an old not British man. She was a British lady, and I'm doing the best I can. I'm like, "Oh, and I'm asking the questions like, "Oh, do you smoke?" and all this kind of stuff. And no, he gave all that up, and he was doing. He was about. I think I found out he's about 80 something, 82, 83, something like that. Anyway, I found out as much as I could, and I'm like, "Have you organised an ambulance?" He didn't want an ambulance. Turns out, like, he didn't smoke and all this, and he'd been doing all these things in his life, like Tai Chi, and he even did that Japanese martial art where they have the wooden sword, kendo, and I was pretty impressed actually. For such an old guy who's doing things like kendo and all this kind of thing, and he didn't want an ambulance, and but he looked like he was in pain. He had pain up his side. And so I'm running out of things to talk about, and I went, I'm thinking he might die. He didn't look good. He was an old British man. Apparently he was. I found out later he was in the military, and he was high ranking. And I said, "Do you believe in Jesus?" I just started saying things like that and seeing what his reaction would be. And he was like, "Nah, I don't believe in religion and all that." And I just said one more thing. I said, "Well, Jesus commanded us not to be religious anyway." And then his wife said, "Yeah, that's right." And then I said, so you believe?" And she's like, "Yes, of course I do, yeah." And anyway, it got weird because it turns out we ended up getting a neighbour to come, and she was a nurse, and that's why we called her. And she was a German woman. Funnily enough, a German woman. he was an Englishman from the military, and she was a German woman. And she insisted, no, you have to get an ambulance. You have to get an ambulance. You have to get an ambulance. Anyway, the ambulance came without his consent, because she didn't want one either. And the ambulance came, and I'd gone home, and everyone else had kind of stepped in and taken care of it. And I'm like, there's not much more I can do. But and then something sprung to mind when I got home, and I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I said, what was the situation then? I said, I was like all happy cleaning the house, and I'm all happy now, and it was like God went, I've done for you now. And it's like, I love to give to you, but now I want you to do something for me. And that was kind of like how it came to me. And I thought, hang on a second. It was like he wanted me to go there and say his name. And that's all I came to. That's what I simmered it down to. It was just, he wanted me to go into his house and say his name. Because who knows, what might have happened. Anyway, he ended up getting taken by ambulance to the hospital. They checked him out. It turned out he had an air pocket in his lungs. In just one of his lungs. And it turns out his wife had gone completely, they come up with all kinds of names like senile and all this, dementia and all this. She thought she was getting robbed by people during the day while she was sitting there, and they would just rob things. And she had all her cupboards. I didn't notice when I was there because I was focused on him. But other people that went in there, they said, oh, her cupboards were all taped up, and it was very strange. And then the son came over about a week later, and an ambulance had been there to take her away this time. And I said, oh. And the son came over here, and he was like, thanks a lot, and all this. And he started telling me everything, that she thought people were coming through her skylight in her roof and robbing her while she was sitting there. And yeah, so it could be medication that they're on. Who knows what goes on with the human brain. I mean, sometimes I think things like maybe schizophrenia and things like that could be demons, because they are hearing voices that aren't saying nice things. So yeah, God help them, God bless them, the people who suffer from that. Now, this morning I went up to my local, we call it a supermarket in Australia. I don't know what you call it in your part of the world. You might say grocery store. You might say whatever. Anyway, I'm going up the escalator, the escalator. And there was a homeless woman sitting there with a little cardboard sign. And it said, homeless, anything will help. I went, okay. So I had to go and get my food. And when I came out, I had my little grocery bag full of items. And I said, can I buy you something to eat? And she said, oh, yeah, okay. I said, there was a little cafe I passed. And I said, do you want one of those fruit muffins or something? And she's like, oh, yes, please. Yeah, if you can do it. And I'm walking off. She goes, oh, blueberry. And I went, okay. So I went and bought her a blueberry muffin. I came back and I gave it to her. And just before I'm giving it to her, this other person gives her another $10 note. And she had a little hat full, and I sort of crouched down beside her, and I gave her the muffin. I said, how did this happen? Like, what's your situation? Turns out she's staying on the beach in a tent. And she's talking about she's got 2 kids, and I'm thinking, oh, how horrible kids are. The kids are in a tent on the beach. She said, oh no, they're getting foster cared. She said, oh, one of them's got purple eyes and one of them's got blue eyes, and I miss them so much, and all this. I said, okay, yeah, fair enough. And I ended up, I thought, okay, here's an opportunity. And I got to the end of our conversation. She told me, I said, have you ever considered Jesus Christ to look after you? And she said, oh, yeah. And then she started talking about the government again, straight away, as well as Jesus. And I'm thinking, see, that's the problem, isn't it? She's relying on both. She's relying on both the government and just, you sort of fathom. I don't know how deep her faith is. Maybe it doesn't have to be that deep at all. But it's just, it just reminded me of that when Jesus was in the temple and he saw the man on his mat, and the man was, Jesus, he already knew, but he was like, oh, why haven't you healed yourself in the pool? And he said, oh, the guy made a million excuses, right? And basically it's like, Jesus is like, stand up and pick up your mat and stop sinning. And the man just straight away understood and stood up, and I just think, the beggars and the homeless, they could easily turn that into a lifestyle, what they're doing. But when you've been blessed, you've got to bless others. And I think that's all I was doing. I was able to come out of my house and buy some bag of food and go back to my kids. And I thought, I'm not trying to get praise for that. It was just, when you just get convicted when you walk past something like that, and you just have to do something. You have to get, and how it's nearly a cashless society, and no one's ever really got cash on them anymore anyway, so I couldn't really give her cash, and I didn't want to encourage any kind of drug habit or anything like that. Because during the conversation early on, she was like, oh, I don't smoke or drink, and I'm like, I'm not even asking that. Like, that's the last thing I'm going to judge you on. I'm going to judge you righteously, but not like I'm better than you. I always think everyone's better than me. Anyway. Now, I've been watching a few documentaries on the temple that existed during Jesus' time, and his ministry. It was something to behold. It was. I've been just a little bit sort of curious about the mosques around the world, just how ornate they are, and how, without going too much into that, it was similar to that. The way the temple was built, it was built to really show off, and it was supposed to reflect the glory of God. And King Herod at the time, there was many Herods, by the way, but this King Herod, he told the Jews at the time, he said, listen, I will build you the new temple, bigger, bolder, brighter. And then the Jews were worried that they wouldn't have a temple at all, because Herod wouldn't keep his promise, and he would destroy the old temple without finishing the new one, and then to prove to the Jews, oh look, I'll stick by my word. Like, I'll give you all the building materials in advance before that temple even goes anywhere. And so that's what they agreed to. And the Jews themselves got to be the full architects of Herod's new temple, and it was to be called the light of the world. And what did Jesus say? He said, I am the light. This was during that temple. So what I was getting from the whole picture was Jesus, during that temple, he was constantly referring to what was right in front of everyone. The splendor of it. I'm talking, Even I think it was a Roman general, a Roman emperor. One of them, I can't remember which one they said, but he was blown away. Have you seen the ancient Roman temples they used to build? They were, and the Greek ones. They were just absolutely magnificently splendid. If you walked in one of those, and just the columns themselves, in this one that was built in for the Jews, just one column was one stone on the pillars. It was just, it was beyond the pyramids, Nelly. It was just, so Jesus is standing there comparing himself to that and saying that he is superior to that, and he will destroy this temple and in 3 days rebuild it. And they were thinking, they're looking at the splendor of this. This thing was the most beautiful building in the world. They're looking at it just like, it's like looking at the world's most dazzling skyscraper in Dubai. And there's someone standing there saying, I'm going to build a tower higher than that in 3 days. And then that one will just be in its shadow. You just balk at him, wouldn't you? You just say, because that's what they did. And then it says in the scriptures, but Jesus was referring to himself. Which there were so many things I was getting from what Jesus said and looking at the temple. You have to check it out. Because they've got computer simulations where you get on a tour through it. And they've got the size and the people walking around, and it's like nothing you can imagine. And it was made by hand, in a sense. All made by hand. I believe it was for God's glory. But God also allowed it to be destroyed completely, except for the foundation, which is interesting. Now I've been watching some great channels. I've been watching some for a long time. I've been watching some for only the last 6 months. Some shout outs to these channels. I really respect these people. I respect intelligent people who use their brains for good. Like Gene Kim, he's great. I'll just go through a little list I compiled. Interrupts 165. It's actually now a group of people who, it's like the Bible is this puzzle, and it's on a football field. So it's like a 1 billion piece puzzle, and everyone's only got a candle each, and the candle only lights up a tiny bit of the puzzle. And it's like they're all starting to meet up and see the whole picture of the Bible. And it's mind-blowing. I mean, they're seeing differences, so many differences between Luke, Matthew, and Mark. It's not funny. I mean, they're saying if a different word was used, down to a different letter, an S on the end of a word, it means a whole different thing. It's like where Luke is, like you go first, during the middle, and it's like the more and more you start to realize, the teaching of the 7-year tribulation, it's like they're trying to lead us through the first half. It's like, and some people don't even know they're doing it with their teaching. But because like channels like Ministry Revealed and Dr. Barry Orr all go into such depth, they even prove, I don't know if you've heard a channel called DTBM. I can't remember, DTBM. The last bit's Bible Ministries, but he's like a bald guy with glasses, and he lectures. Absolutely brainiac, But he's teaching that. He's teaching that 7 years and that's it. He's teaching 3.5 and 3.5. And what you're getting from these other two interrupts and ministry revealed is no, it's like there's 7 years, and then that's 7 years that all these other teachers are referring to, and it just all fits, and it's like it can't be denied. It's like wow, and just he didn't even mean to call his channel Ministry Revealed, and it's revealing stuff. Anyway, Robert Breaker, fantastic. Gevti. I don't know that's how you say his channel name. Gevti. It's Gevte. I pick up a lot of tidbits from him, and yeah. So that's just a few. Barry Orr, I find he's a little hard to keep up with sometimes. He's so excited, and he's going numbers and little back and forth. It's like I can't keep up sometimes. And Ministry Revealed can be a little bit like that sometimes. You get so far ahead. I mean, you're able to pause and rewind and all that, but sometimes it's so in depth. It's like trying to learn how a Swiss watch is built. Anyway, more power to him. I mean, I wish I could just sit there, listen to it the first time, understand exactly what they're saying, but so much information. So much. I find interrupts is kind of like the really good middle ground of all of this. They've got Ministry Revealed knowledge. They've taken from him, and Sword of God. He's kind of along with these guys, but I find him a little bit more abrasive. I don't want to put him down anymore, because in the past I've said, he was a bit much. He was calling people satanic if they didn't go with his date that's passed. So I sort of gave him a rest, but you can still get a lot out of his channel, Sword of God. I find him a bit abrasive though, just to be honest. So it's some great channels that I, just so you know where I get some of my information from. But remember this, that even a little bit of work for the Lord is a lot. Okay? We're not saved by works. But say you make one video and somebody watches it and goes, I'm glad somebody else feels the same way I do about all this and Jesus Christ. Aliens. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to talk about aliens just yet. Let's talk about UFOs. Because it's all coming up now, isn't it? Someone made I can't remember which channel it was, but he was saying, I should have mentioned him actually, I can't remember the channel, but he was saying how strange when Israel became a nation, like on the day, or around the same exact time, they started talking about Roswell incident and all this. Aliens. Because this was going to be, Israel became a nation again and Satan would have known. And then now, everyone's looking for the rapture, the escape of the bride. Look at the news. Look at the news. It was like, bang, like, click, click, click. I'm listening to everything he's saying. I'm like, you are onto it. Now, I find it very interesting about the UFO, like that Satan's chosen that for the deception, because if you think about it, when Christ the Messiah, Jesus, was born, he was said to have come from the sky. In a previous video, I've talked about the Mazzaroth, and it also has been translated to the word Nazareth. And that Nazareth was, people have looked right into it, said it was nowhere to be found. It was like a town that didn't exist. But anyway, what Mazzaroth meant, the stars. Nazareth, the stars, right? So it was Jesus from the stars, Jesus of the stars. So don't you think that's because it's always a mirror image of sort of a bad mirror image, the negative, like if you like with a photo, you got a negative and a positive in the old days. It's exactly the same, and I made some comparisons here. I went because I was watching a great video from DTBM, and he made a few comparisons about the Antichrist and Jesus. And one was, Jesus had a ministry of 3.5 years. And that's exactly how long the Antichrist is supposed to reign. A deadly wound. Jesus had one in the head. I'm talking about, the crown of thorns. And the Antichrist will have a deadly wound in the head. Like an assassination. And I don't know about this, but I found this kind of interesting. Like, there was another wound from Jesus in the side, and it says that the Antichrist, his arm will be withered. Maybe was it his right arm? Anyway, Jesus has, in DTBM, he pointed out he has counted and interpreted more than over 450 different names for Jesus. And like when Jesus asked the possessed man, like, he asked the name, what is your name? And the demon said, we are Legion, which is 3,000 to 6,000 men or something, in a Roman legion. So that's how many demons this guy had. So and he was pointing out over 450. He goes, every time I read the Bible, I'm looking for a new one. So it's funny how there's many names, right? Jesus was the Son of the living God, and the son of perdition is the son of hell, the son of perdition. One thing that just went, I had to come inside and write it down because I was listening to DTBM, and he said that every word in the Bible comes from Jesus Christ. And I was like, boom, it just makes it so much easier, doesn't it? I mean, through all those men, because all the men that wrote the Bible, through all of them, he wrote every single word. It's just my mind just went, because you might think but just when you hear that, it just makes so many more things add up all at once. I mean, it was just one of those moments when I heard that. I'm like, oh, that's incredible. I just went, that's incredible. I have to write that down. Now, really, when you think about the Earth, because I'm on the same planet that you are, I'm in the same place as you, and the way that things are set up now, it's like we're all kind of going to be surrounded, given no way out if we stay here. So I looked at it like the Earth and our current bodies, we're like in prison. It's like we're going to be released from prison, broken out of prison. There's so many places in the Bible that talks about being freed from prison. Like there's one, it was an earthquake, and the prison doors flew open. I don't know how many other times throughout history that might have happened. Yeah. I just want to quickly go back to the UFO alien thing. And what I was talking about, that channel before, Interrupts 165. I'm not sure. I didn't zoom into the actual. They're saying really soon. For the escape of the bride. But the news is also saying this month. They're saying this month. There was another channel, that Gevty and Dr. Barry Orr, I think, was saying this month, and they're going to reveal the UFOs. They're not talking about the aliens yet, because that's who they more want to introduce to the world, is who's on board these things. Right? And don't you find it interesting that they come from heaven? And yeah, in DTBM he was pointing out that if they can convince the world, a world that has rejected God to this day, which this is their deception, they're going to believe that these things, because in essence, what the appearance of aliens really does is overrides the theology, the superiority of God. This is the game. This is the attempt where it's like, if we can have aliens, they'll be like some sort of superheroes, and so what if there's a King Jesus and all this? Who cares? Oh, he's not superior, and here comes something else, and there's something from another planet that's way more intelligent than us. So, and what he was saying is that, that like the Earth, where we are in history, there could be many histories and all this kind of stuff, and it really kind of discredits. It's so well thought of. The deception is so well thought out. Like every deception, it's kind of like someone who releases a board game, for example. They create everything on the board, the rules, the pieces, and then they'll sell it to you, right? And they know all the secrets of the game. Little codes, etc. But you don't. So it's like it's very easy to get you playing that game, and so you're playing their game, and they can just use all their codes and cheats and all that, and they've got you. And the door just will slam shut. The door will slam shut like a fishing net. Oh, there's a net over there. Oh, it's getting closer. I better get out. Oh, there is no way out. And also, I want to point out a little diagram I made, and it made me think of a seed when I saw the diagram when I'd finished it. A seed. Okay, so I'll show it to you quickly. Don't mind my writing. I was scribbling this down. Okay. So we've got 4 circles. On the outside, the furthest circle out is the Father, the middle one, the Son, the next one, the Holy Spirit, and that center nucleus is the Earth, the world. And when I look at diagrams of seeds and they slice them in half, I think of a seed. That's like a seed. But what I'm getting at is Jesus was always saying he was like a seed. It's just a weird connection, you know what I'm saying? So the third heaven, where the Father is, second heaven, where the Son is, and the sky. And what would be in the sky? The Holy Spirit. It's in us, but it came down upon the disciples, didn't it? It was in the sky. It was in the air, the first heaven. I found that very interesting. A great connection. And just the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus is like a seed. It was like he was planted in the ground. And then when he sprouted, he said he'll bring forth much seed. And it's just that way like any plant grows, isn't it? Like a grass seed or a... Yeah. I am only a renter, just let you know that. I rent. And we have to have smoke alarms. One. All that's changed. We've been getting visits from the smoke alarm people and messages, and what they're doing. I don't know if in your country it's already happened, but instead of having one in our hall, they want to hardwire, which means connect to the power, because smoke alarms usually run on batteries, yeah? They want to wire throughout every bedroom of the house and one in the hall. There's going to be 4 all up now, hardwired to our power, that if they go off, it will go through a database on to the fire department's database. And if they come out, if it's gone off or like by mistake, they come out and then you have to pay for it. Now, this isn't the only thing I want to talk about it. I find it very suspicious. I'm not... Don't you? Like, all of a sudden, you can't just have these battery smoke alarms. I mean, why can't they just put battery ones in every room? No, they want to hardwire it. And it's connected to a database? I mean, are they just smoke alarms? See, for me, like, other people might hear that and go, oh yeah, do what you got to do. Anyway, but I hear things like this and say, oh, this is what they want to do. I get concerned. I want to know more. It's like, no, you can't know more. So you don't have a choice. And I'm like, well, now I'm even more concerned. Along with many other things at the moment. Anyway. Strongly looking at the 21st of this month, which would be like, think about it, it's like the 6th month on the 21st, and if you add 2 and 1 together, it's 3, so it's like 6-3. There's a weird connection there. But also, if you go the 6th month and the 21st, and you divide the 21st by 3, you get 3 7s, which is like 6, and then completion, because that's what it means. It's God's number. Along with many other meanings. But it would be like the number of man, which is 6, and it's 777. Complete. Which is mind-blowing. And there's going to be a solar eclipse on the top of the northern hemisphere, and it's all going on, guys. Along with like a million other things. I mean, look at Israel. They don't have the USA's backing anymore. Although Biden's trying to pretend with his, he's not backing them. He's getting upset because Israel's thinking of protecting himself from Iran. He's getting upset about things like that. I mean, you've got that. You've got volcanoes going off in the middle of the Congo. You've got Iceland, a 6,000-year-old volcano going off. There's a great video online, by the way, where a guy is flying a drone up the side of this volcano in Iceland. I don't know how he got his footage back, but he flew into the lava and it caught it because the lava came bursting up and caught his drone, and that was it. But it was the most spectacular footage I've ever seen. I think it would have been worth it for him. Yeah, we've got the volcanoes, we've got the blood moons, we got Israel, we got look at the US government. Oh, I saw that Kamala Harris. She's a scary woman, not as scary as God, but scary woman. She was at that Memorial Day where they remember fallen soldiers, and she came up. She laid a wreath, and she was heard saying, you know how she always laughs at everything when no one else is laughing, or she's laughing at God knows what. It just looks, she just looks evil when she laughs. Anyway, she says, "Enjoy the long weekend," and she says, "Whoever you are." And then you've got Biden. It's like the military has US. It's been like told to just stand down. And Israel, it's like Israel doesn't have backing anymore. It's like it's just coming to life. Everything off the pages of the Bible. Because you always thought, oh, as long as US is backing Israel, you're like, well, what could happen to it? And now that they've stolen, it was meant to happen like this. But we're supposed to like let the wicked be wicked. Because in the back of your mind, be honest with yourself. You thought all this was meant to happen. I knew all this was going to happen. Because some part of you goes, oh, I don't want this to happen. And it's like you nearly start to waste your energy by trying to fight all this. Like, I got asked to go to a protest. I'm like, no, I don't do that stuff. It never does anything. Anyway. I mean, someone said, oh, but you can make other people aware. And I'm like, but they've got so much information now. What's me going, holding a sign, potentially being arrested and yelling out things? And plus, I don't think we're meant to. Along with rioting and all that, we're not meant to. We're meant to just concentrate on Jesus. Like another connection, when Jesus talked about the narrow path leads to him and the broad path, I was looking at, Mecca, and there was so many people going in there. It was like a broad path, if you know what I'm saying. And then I think about that's the broad path. And also look at when the Pope makes a speech in the Catholic Church. It's a pretty broad path leading up to the Vatican. And then I think of the narrow path. I'm like, oh, what's Jesus referring to there? And I think of like when you walk through the grass in the countryside, and you can tell that one person's been using a trail and strolling up and down through the grass, and it's only one person wide. And at the end of that path is Jesus standing there. I thought, wow, that's such a cool connection, because that is a narrow path where one person's been walking, and just it blows my mind when I make these connections. Like when here's another connection. When Satan entered Judas, right? It's like almost as if Judas sounds like Judah. And it's like the same thing. It's like the betrayal is going to happen again. Like Satan's going to enter Judah, the tribe of Judah. And the way I heard someone explaining it, they said how many times Satan tried to kill Jesus. Because you only think of the cross. And it's like, no, he tried to kill Jesus when he was a little baby, when he was 2. He tried to drown Jesus in the boat. He tried to tempt the crowd to throw Jesus off a cliff. Tried to tempt the people to stone Jesus. And he tried to tempt Jesus in the desert. He tempted him to throw himself off the highest part of the temple. Was it at the temple? But he could see all the kingdoms of the world from the top. Anyway, to throw himself off. And don't worry, all the angels will save you. And then not realizing that the final time he tried to kill Jesus, like he was allowed to, and Satan must have been rubbing his hands together and not realizing he's fulfilling the fact that Jesus is a seed and he's going to have him buried in the earth, and he's going to come back like a weed. He's just going to flourish everywhere. So that was a nail in Satan's coffin. I was watching this. I don't like this. I was watching DTBM video, as I've been explaining throughout this video. And just towards the end, there must have been about 5 seconds. I'm talking 5 seconds of the video left. And at the end of his video, he was going to do a prayer. And he got to the end of this prayer and he said, "All God's children say," and the video cut out and it went to an ad. 5 seconds to go. And the ad said, "Hey, it's amazing what a little snooze can do." That was the ad. And then it went back to the video, 5 seconds, he said, "Amen." And then the video finished. I'm like, that was purposely planted there. When he said, "and all God's children say," they cut it out right there, and it said, it made a complete mockery of it. Be sober, be vigilant. For your adversary, the devil, roams around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And when I hear that part of it, where he says may devour, I think that's going to be literal. Eat. Because everything is literal. And spiritual. Also, the UFO thing, that when we talk about a rapture, just how much are they trained with UFOs, that they have a beam that comes out of them and they pull people up, or they make people evaporate and then appear somewhere else. Because there is 2 types, isn't there? There's like a vanishing, and then there's a caught up in the clouds. From what I'm sort of understanding from Ministry Revealed and Interrupts. Don't you see? It's a such a comparison. This is literally how Satan's doing it. He's going to do it like that. I mean, you have to admire the sophistication. I mean, I used to sit there, look up at the stars. I used to hear celebrities, and they'd say, "Oh, you remember Men in Black?" And I remember Will Smith was saying in the interview, "Oh, there has to be something else out there. Look at the size of the universe." I mean, I was going along with that. I was convinced. I'm like, yeah, like there's so much out there. Like, because when you watch documentaries and etc., it's like there's life out there. You see this. You see the scope of the universe. And there must be. We must be selfish and ignorant. See, and like we're beating ourselves up over it. When we don't have Christ, we beat ourselves up all the time because they want us to. I mean, why does Satan hate us so much? Because we're made in the image of God, and he doesn't like that. Because he hates the image of God. This is why he's making so many images for himself. So just remember that. Remember, a little bit of work is a lot. Just remember that. Remember, they all got paid the same, didn't they? No matter how little or how much work how early they showed up, how late they showed up. If they filled one basket, if they filled 20, if they filled half a basket, if they just showed up at the last second. Think about it. I'll see you soon, guys. Let's keep an eye out for around the 21st. I mean, I don't know if anything's going to happen, but they're talking about UFOs and aliens now, and look at Israel, and I'm just, whoa, exciting, scary, joyful times we're living in. Because when you have everything taken away from you, you realize what you can rely on, what you can trust. And it makes you appreciate what you did have already. But with that, guys, it's been great to speak to you again. I'll try to keep it coming. I do get busy. I haven't been feeling well over the last, not in that way that they're talking about on the news all the time. But I'll speak to you soon. See you next time. Bye.